everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TEPSA Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Nesloni, the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. We are so thrilled every week to bring you different thought leaders from around the world, and today's is one of my favorite follows on social media because of his wisdom, insight, encouragement. His resources are fantastic, and I can't wait for you all to meet Zac Bauermaster today. Zac, thank you for being here. Kind of tell everybody a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, Todd, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on. So my name, as you said, is Zac Bauermaster. I'm an elementary principal in Pennsylvania. So I'm proud principal of Providence Elementary School. I have an interesting background in education where I started as a high school social studies teacher, taught middle school social studies. When I got into administration, I was a high school AP. And then as I went for my doctorate work and superintendent letter of eligibility, I sort of wanted to grow and step outside my comfort zone. So I became an elementary AP, and now I've been an elementary principal for 4 years. It's just been tremendous. I always say I've had the privilege of shaking hands on stage at graduation. Now I'm greeting families as they're coming in at kindergarten. But first and foremost, I'm a believer in leading family first. I got a lovely wife, Carly, who was my high school sweetheart, and 3 kids, 7th grader, a 4th grader, and a 2nd grader. So I'm in the heart of coaching all their youth sports and just really being immersed in their activities and making sure I'm present with them.
Well, Zac, I'm sure that was quite a mind shift to go from your instructional practice in secondary and AP in secondary and then to enter the elementary world and see just how different things could be. And so I'd love to know kind of when you entered that space, what was one of the first really big things that you learned that was kind of different about the elementary world that maybe you were expecting and just got to experience for the first time or just were never expecting?
I think what really helped me in my transition to elementary, when I was thinking about transitioning to elementary, I talked to some people and some were like, you don't want to go to the elementary. You don't have that experience. It won't work out. And other people would tell me leadership is leadership.
Yep.
And I think that was one of my biggest takeaways where I actually think it helped me coming into the elementary level of delegating, trusting the people around me, learning who is strong in what area, trusting the reading specialists, trusting the literacy coaches, trusting the behavior team, and just really using leadership skills to hone in and help everyone grow in their strength zones. So that was really a takeaway of mine. I realized I didn't have the background in young readers and literacy and learning to read and helping kids grow in reading, but I have a great team with me, and it's not my job to take charge of everything and be in control of everything, but really to empower others through my leadership style.
I love that. Well, today's conversation is all about servant leadership. Because I know from following you online and reading your books that whole servant leadership is definitely close to your heart. And I know for us to be great leaders, we have to be willing to serve those around us. And so when you think of the word servant leadership, go ahead, before we even dive into some examples, how would you define this and why do you feel that this is an important quality of a great leader?
When I think of servant leadership, I certainly think of thinking outside of ourselves. And it's so easy as leaders to think about how we can grow. What's next? What are we doing? And we can be moving so fast from one place to another, but we miss what's most important, the people that are right in front of us. Today, I was just in the cafeteria, and there's a lady named Kim who works in the cafeteria, and I saw in between when they're serving the food, they're always back scrubbing, making sure things are clean as can be. And I remember, and how often, and I just looked at her and I was like, thank you. I said, thank you for the detail and the efforts that you're always putting in. Yeah. And she's just there doing that task that could really go unnoticed. So I think servant leadership is having eyes for people and seeing people as people and realizing as I'm leading people, these teachers that are coming in, they're parents too, their spouses, they have difficulties that are going on. And I'll break it down. I use an acronym. It's a people acronym to remember to focus on people, and that's prioritizing people, empathizing, but not stopping at empathy, observing their needs and responding with compassion, praying for people, loving people, and encouraging people. And I try to think of those letters throughout each and every day as I wake up in my home and as I go throughout the school day so I can keep my eyes on people and not on myself.
Okay, so for me, it's like I need to print that out. I need to put it in my office because I think that's one of those things that's just a great visual reminder for every leader too. Just that easy acronym. But I also love that you pointed something out here too, that when we think about this idea of leadership, especially as a campus administrator, it's not just about the teachers. Yes, the teachers are important, obviously, but everybody plays a role.
Yeah.
And I love that the first example you shared was just that alone, that this is a job that is expected, that needs to get done, but that can be easily missed. And you don't really notice somebody's doing it until they don't do it. Kind of one of those jobs. And so how can we as administrators make sure that we kind of keep an eye for those little moments? Because sometimes those people who are doing all those little things can often easily feel overlooked.
I think, and you use the terms little moments. I think we need to have, I know we need to have an eye out for those little moments. And that's something I strategically do is I take little moment walks where if you get bogged down by a phone call or you realize you got sucked into your inbox, and you're like, wow, I need to step away. But you walk around the school and you purposefully look for things that could be so easy to miss. And right now I'm just so fired up because we have such a strong support staff. And because our support staff is so strong, it helps the teachers, it helps the students, it helps everyone. And just seeing the support staff work one-on-one with kids or small groups with kids, but then acknowledging it, celebrating those wins, making people feel seen, valued, and heard. Because I've also experienced the moments where someone resigns and I sit there in hindsight, like I almost take it personally, like what could I have done different? Like, did I miss something where I could have connected with them? I knew they were doing that so well. I should have said something. And I never want to regret that. You want people, and I talk about this, you want every role, you want kids to want to come to school. For kids to want to come to school, we want this to be a place where teachers want to be. And you want it to be a place that families trust and are proud to send their kids. And that all comes down to culture and how people feel seen, valued, and heard.
Well, I think too, sometimes thinking about this idea of servant leadership or in recognizing others and the small moments and things, sometimes I have seen school administrators get lost in also seeing their own value, get lost in their feeling beat down by a lot and forgetting to fill their own cup. So how do you protect yourself too and also invest in you so that you can be at your best to be able to pour into others?
Yeah. And I'm pretty open about this, but in 2015, 2016, I went through a season of anxiety and depression. And it was just a tremendous, as I look back, I'm so thankful for that journey in my life where my eyes were open to, I was operating at a pace that I couldn't sustain. And while I was doing that, I was missing the people around me. Yeah. And so I've learned, like, I love getting up really early in the morning and being in my devotions, the Word of God, prayer, exercise, just before I have a young family, before the family's up. I love those the dark mornings where I can prepare for the day. But and my wife is certainly really good. Just this last week, she'll let me know. She said, you're going to burn yourself out. And I had like 4 events in one night. And I finished up, it was a local speaking event, and I was headed towards something else. And she told me, she said, if you go there, I'm going to walk into the meeting and I'm going to pull you out by the ear. So who are we surrounding ourselves with too? So I think that's so important where people are speaking truth into our lives. Like, hey, you need to back off a little bit. And my wife's phenomenal at it, like giving me confidence when I need it, but also humbling me when I need it. But we certainly need to take care of ourselves. And I talk about it. Everything we do overflows from our heart. So we need to make sure our heart is in the right spot. For people, it means different things. For me, it's my faith.
Right.
But then we can overflow into the people of our lives. We want to be able to overflow. And I always picture it when I fill my coffee cup every morning. I realize I'm empty every morning and I need to be filled first myself so that then I can overflow to other people. But I haven't mastered it. It's something I'm passionate about, leaders burning bright and not burning out. Yeah. And it takes intentionality. I don't talk about work-life balance. I talk more of a work-life rhythm. There's different seasons of a school year, but those are some things that have helped me to continue to take care of myself so I can pour into others, but not only at school, but in my family, because I don't want to miss leading at home.
Well, I love that you said work-life rhythm and not a work-life balance, because you're right. It's never going to be balanced. Yeah. But I love that too, the idea that every season of the year has different rhythms and just figuring out how to make that work. But also what you shared in there about making sure that the people you are allowing to pour into you are being honest with you, are encouraging, are doing all the things, but also letting you know when you need to not go to something or something like that. So I love that's such a great reminder for us who are listening here. And so you've also got a couple books out, including a just released picture book that came out with your daughter. So I've got to ask, what was the experience like? I know what the experience is like writing a book, but I've never written a book with my children. So what was that experience like for you? And who pitched to who?
It was awesome. And I have to give a shout out to my daughter, my other two kids, and the neighbor kids, because it was from a lemonade stand where it started, that they raised money themselves. And I know we've heard about lemonade stands, but the book's called Lemonade, but aid is spelled AID. Because what they did then eventually was they turned it into donating it to the food bank, and the response was unreal. So it's just this message of spreading kindness, empathy, compassion, and community in kids, no matter their age or size, just how they can make a difference. So my daughter and I was like, how can we turn this into a story? And I was thankful to have a platform, having written 2 books already. And we went to a Barnes and Noble, and we just sat there. We had a notebook. We had some of the old pictures. We had some of the newspaper clippings. And I looked at her and I said, all right, we're going to make this into a book. And I love that. I just love looking ahead. And I said, we're going to make this into a book. What's the main takeaway you want to have? And she said, I want kids to be kind and know they can make a difference. I said, so that's the main takeaway. And we just started writing. And of course, the writing process, that was February of 2023. We were hoping to have it released in the summer with a big lemonade stand, but it was delayed a little bit, and it came out in September. But it was just so neat to work alongside her, as we meet with the illustrator, the book designer, the publisher, just to help through that process. And now we're doing author visits. Last week we did virtual author visits. We had one in California, 2 to Illinois. We were in Kentucky. We have one coming up in New Mexico. We were just on a show called Good Day PA. We're going on the radio coming up soon as well. And it's just really neat experiences. And I told her recently when we were on TV on the way home, I said, this is what it's all about. You have gifts. We all have gifts. We need to step out of our comfort zone and use those gifts. We could be comfortable and not do these things. Yes, there's always nerves to them. You're always a little nervous, but you're excited. But just ultimately thinking about, we're trying to encourage people. So it's been really fun. And we're just hopeful that it continues to encourage kids across the country and the world.
Hey, well, the more of those kind of books we can have out there that we can be introducing to our students and our own children, the better. So bravo to you and your daughter. Well, Zac, as we begin to wrap this conversation up, I'd love to know, for the administrators who are listening today and feeling overwhelmed with the amount of information that's being thrown at them from every direction, and them taking a few minutes just to listen to this conversation, what is the one thing you really hope that they walk away with as they leave today's conversation?
Yeah, just leadership is all about people, and just never lose sight of people. As you plan the start of your day, when you're creating your list, when your to-do list, don't let it get in the way of loving people and taking care of people. And maybe you set it up with, if you have list, however you organize your day, have an area on it for people. Who are some people you want to check in with? I had a principal who, he had a black notebook, and he said every principal needs a little black notebook. And what he did was, any needs, any different things that were coming up with staff members, students, or families, he wrote it in there, and he would be following up. He would be checking in with people because he truly cared about them. And that's what I encourage leaders to do. Just truly care about people, not just as the 4th grade teacher, not just as the phys ed teacher, not just as the support staff or the kitchen staff, but they all are human beings, and just seeing people as human beings.
I love it. Well, Zac, today's conversation has been so encouraging, and also some really good takeaways. People listening may be thinking, I want to check out your books, or I know you do speaking. How can I get in touch with you? So if people were to want to get in touch with you, what's the easiest way they could do that?
The easiest way is to go to zacbauermaster.com, and there's different links there where you can check out blogs to take a look at speaking, links to the book, anything about reaching out for author visits for the elementary book. That's all there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Zac, and thank you so much, everybody, for listening or watching another episode of our TEPSA Talk podcast. Remember, if you are a pre-K through 8th grade leader in the state of Texas, you have a home here at TEPSA, so we hope you head on over to tepsa.org and learn more today. We'll catch you again next week.